So, hey Mandira, thank you so much for joining Marketing Locked. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. How about you, Jessica?
Yes, very well, thank you. Before
Good.
we get into it, I want to ask, and this might be a bit of a cheeky question, but what is it that you do to get paid today?
Well, to get paid today, I represent the MRI software brand out in the universe. I'm the CMO of MRI, and I get to work with an amazing group of marketers around the globe, 100 plus strong.
That's awesome. And for those who might not have heard of MRI, what is it that MRI do?
So, MRI software provides software and services to the global commercial real estate industry. So, those are businesses that own, manage, and are tenants in real estate, whether that's office buildings, retail properties, or residential. In the US, we call them apartment communities, different terms around flats, et cetera, in some of our other markets.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the fact that you've got 125, person marketing team as well. I think when I last spoke to you, that team works globally, if I'm correct.
That's right. Our kind of major, I guess I'll say our sort of four regions: North America, EMEA, Asia Pacific, and then our kind of concentration of marketers are in the US, Canada, the UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, but really kind of serving the globe from those centers.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, when we spoke last time, I think what was really interesting about the role that you're in is how your marketing team is set up. So, not necessarily everybody within that team has a direct report into you, but it's more of a dotted line. Would you mind explaining a little bit about how that setup is?
Sure. So MRI's grown quite a bit in the past 7.5 years that I've been in this role and been with the company. And as we've scaled both globally and to serve different subsectors in real estate, and actually, I even kind of alluded to it earlier with there's terminology differences in each of our regions. There's really kind of market differences. And so as we've scaled globally, we've moved to let's say, a hybrid model where we have very strong regions that drive the business in each regional market. And then we have global departments that ensure that we have consistency in the way that we go to market and serve our clients. And so from a marketing standpoint, what that means is, of course, we manage the brand, we look at our portfolio, and we set standards for how we operate as a marketing team and how we measure our impact on the market and supporting our sales team to generate pipeline. So we run that piece globally from a central global function, and then within the regions, we have regional teams that take that global brand message, that create all the product positioning materials, and then generate demand regionally. And they are aligned to our regional teams so they can work more closely with the product orgs in region and tailor a more localized go-to-market strategy.
Yeah, that really is such a cool setup. And I love that because it must help having the regional teams, I don't know, provide feedback to you from a global or a group perspective in terms of what's working in their market for you to be able to align that messaging from I don't know, head office or from the global group, I suppose.
Yes, no, absolutely. And we have a great, like, very collaborative group. And I myself, that's always kind of been my approach. I chalk it up to being a middle child, so I'm a consensus builder, and I've been that way my whole life, and that's how I operate in the working world as well. And so having a really kind of strong marketing leadership team that consists of both people that report directly to me and that dotted line, but they represent our brand and our marketing function in region. That group really just works very well together in both representing the regional needs of the business, but understanding the value of having a consistent global umbrella.
Yeah, I can't relate because I'm the oldest child, so I definitely don't have the middle child. I don't know, can you call it a syndrome there, like you would like I don't know, the youngest child? But I'm curious, what's the sales setup like? Does it mirror the marketing setup in terms of that regional and group level, or is it mainly regional?
It mirrors it. The reporting lines are, there's a mix of hard and dotted, but yes, we have predominantly regional sales leaders, but I think she's got, she being my peer, Sherry, who's our chief revenue officer, she's got, one or two sales leaders that have a global purview because, maybe they sell a particular sort of specialized product that operates in almost an overlay type model. So, but yes, the sales team is also generally regional in nature. And so the marketing teams are very locked in with the sales orgs in that way. Our product as well, product org, we have 180 different products that we bring to market. Some of those are global, some of those are very regional because, as you can imagine, in the real estate space, there's a lot of local regulations, compliance requirements, et cetera. So we have a regionalized product organization, product structure as well. So that's where this kind of go-to-market motion, sales, marketing, product is very regionalized in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine dealing with 180 products. Like, I think we have 10 and I struggle with that, let alone like 180. So that's crazy. And I briefly spoke to Pim, who's our CRO at MEDDICC here, about doing the podcast recording with you today. And he was like, make sure you ask about the CRO. So I'd be keen to dig into like what does your relationship look like with the CRO? What does the relationship look like between marketing and sales? Is it I don't know. There's always a lot of talk, especially on LinkedIn, from the typical gurus that sales and marketing hate each other, which I don't find to be the case between me and Pim, touch wood. But yeah, what is it like from your experience?
I would say it sounds like it's quite similar to yours and Pim's. It's really positive. And Sherry's been in this role. I think she said she just passed her 2-year anniversary. And, I mentioned I've been here a little bit longer than that. So I really off the bat with Sherry's predecessor as well, have always had a really positive relationship. And honestly, when I interviewed at MRI and was considering the job, that relationship was one of the most, obviously my boss, who's the CEO, that had to be key. But then the head of sales was the second most important relationship for me. And so it's just always been, I don't think we can be successful as a marketing org if we don't have that mutual respect and trust and collaborative, desire to collaborate and work together with the sales org. That's not to say that there aren't moments when sales is going to say, hey, you're not doing what we need you to do here. And honestly, of course, it goes both ways, right? There's times when we say, hey, we're running this campaign to support you. We need to see, there's a piece that you all have to do as well. Or our sales development team, which is part of the marketing org at MRI, we're passing along leads and we're not seeing that, some of these aren't being jumped on as fast, right? So there's always going to be a bit of healthy kind of mutual push and pull. And I think that's important because, that helps us both kind of perform at our best.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think it comes back to having that culture of trust in that environment as well. Like me and Pim always say that we call it the revenue mill. And that's mainly because he lives in an old refurbished mill in the Netherlands. But we say that we're running the revenue mill together because we really are, like, marketing can't do their job without sales and sales can't do their job without marketing. So I really love to hear that at MRI. How does that work with like the wider go-to-market team? Is it the same sort of relationship between more departments as well as sales?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say the other kind of core area that we need to work very closely with is the product organization. And, that tends to happen more from the product marketing side, but those, that alignment is super important to understand, to feed back in what we're hearing from the market, understand what's coming roadmap wise, and really be prepared to develop sort of crisp positioning, value propositions, and take those solutions to market and generate demand. There's also a significant piece around making sure the sales team is enabled as well with the market knowledge, competitive positioning, and content that they need as well. And so that interlock with the product org is pretty key as well. And then we have a really I would say kind of strong and sort of newly formalizing operations group that supports kind of all of us as well. And so on the data and analytics side, just working really closely with our BI team to make sure that we have the insight in impact and performance of what we're doing, so that we can best invest our time and our money in the right areas that are connecting with customers and resulting in pipeline for the business.
Yeah, that's really awesome to hear. And as you're talking about all of that in terms of working with product, I'm thinking about how we at Medic are doing the same thing from a marketing perspective, really leaning into product and enabling the sales team with that information. I wanted to dig into MEDDPICC as an initiative. I know MRI are very new into their journey with working with Medic, and I think Andy and Pim both attended the GKO earlier this year. How is that initiative going? Is it something that your marketing teams are going to look at as well? Like, what is it from your perspective that you can see the business getting out of MEDDPICC?
Yeah, so we really, as a marketing team, have embraced MEDDPICC right off the bat, and several of the marketing leaders and our entire sales development team completed the masterclass, myself included. And what I loved about it was how well it aligns with, well, honestly, just effective marketing. But a few years ago, as a marketing org at MRI, we adopted a messaging framework called the Story Brand Framework. And that it's just perfectly aligns with MEDDPICC. And MEDDPICC was just the best way to almost translate what we're trying to do in our messaging to the sales organization. That's not how we chose MEDDPICC. That was really Sherry's choice of, hey, I need a universal methodology across this vast global sales team, right? And it just worked so well that the synergy was there. And so the story brand, the concept is really about heroing your customer, right? That using the idea of, a traditional framework for a story or a movie where there's a hero, that's your customer, hero has a problem, that problem causes external challenges, internal challenges, and even philosophical challenges. So that's where you kind of forced to connect with the emotional aspect. And I think I really saw that in kind of the M1 framework, where you just kind of keep digging to really understand what's the impact of this pain point. And that really aligns nicely with how the story brand framework works as well. And then, of course, that hero needs a guide. That's where MRI steps in. The guide has a solution to the hero's problem, and then life after is amazing, right? And that's, again, it really kind of aligns to some of the fundamental concepts of MEDDPICC. And then, of course, all the different letters of the acronym support the actual sales process, which was not something that, Story Brand is really trying to get into. So right off the bat, we really felt strongly aligned with the approach. And then in terms of how marketing is adopting and supporting the sales rollout, our focus right now, because I think we already have that alignment in terms of centering the customer and their problem. Our focus right now is to develop some of those M1s and take maybe what had been maybe more higher level case studies, right? That we'd obviously been generating testimonials, et cetera. Really, any marketing team is typically creating as a sales asset, but trying to crystallize that into more of an M1 framework where we're really pushing ourselves to get into the the numbers-based challenge that the customer had and what that kind of financial or performance impact was and how we can quantify it. So that's sort of where we are in our journey right now. You did allude to our GKO, and that stands for Growth Kickoff. And maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. We were talking about sales and marketing alignment, but we've made the transition from referring to our sales kickoff as a growth kickoff. And we do bring a significant amount of the marketing team and the other GTM groups to that event as well, because, ultimately we really believe that it's that cross-functional GTM alignment that's going to drive the growth as well. So MEDDPICC was a key part of our growth kickoff. But both kind of training the sales organization and the marketing teams. But we did some really fun interactive exercises where we had cross-functional groups of sellers, marketers, and SDRs, developing M1s and then presenting them back to the whole audience in a competitive Shark Tank-like format. That was really a ton of fun and a great way to help the concept stick for the teams.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I mean, there's so much there that you could dig into, and I think it's all like magic what you're doing. I definitely love the GKO versus like a typical SKO, and I think that is just so important in bringing these different teams together to create that alignment. And then I think what you were saying as well about marketing teams using MEDDPICC and how it works with other frameworks. I think that's the thing I love about MEDDPICC is that it is so versatile. You can use it with other frameworks, with other methodologies, but what MEDDPICC does, it's kind of that common language for your whole go-to-market team. So it really aligns what everyone's saying within that go-to-market team. So metrics is the same definition for every single team, the same with pain. And that's what I really love about MEDDPICC and how it can help different go-to-market teams. So yeah, I just love to see and hear all of the stuff that you're doing as a marketing leader with your marketing teams, with the rest of the go-to-market team as well. I think it's really incredible. I want to touch on you now in terms of your history. What was it that made you, I don't know, I say made you, but like I fell into marketing. I had no idea I wanted to do it. And I feel like a lot of people have that experience, but also some people really, really want to do marketing. So how did you start your career in marketing?
Well, similar to you, I stumbled across marketing. I don't think I really knew what it was. It wasn't on my radar. I have a literature degree, and I went from college. I went into business strategy consulting, just as a way to sort of get exposed to the corporate world. And honestly, at the time, I did not like it, and I left. And I thought I'm going to be a writer because I love that. That was my passion, right? That's what I chose to study in school, and I ended up. You got to make money too, right? So I ended up taking a job as a writer at a startup. And the leadership kind of came to me at the time, about 30 days into working as a writer for them, to say, hey, our VP of marketing needs a little bit of help over there. What do you think about going and supporting her? And honestly, it was just kind of a, sure, I'll give it a try. And from there, I wouldn't say it was love at first sight, but it kind of put me on a path in marketing. And then as I had different opportunities, just somewhere along the way, I realized like this is the thing that I love to do. And I do think it goes back to, I mean, we talked about story brand. I mean, effective marketing is really about understanding people, what moves them, and then kind of putting together the right messaging and stories that connect with people. And so it kind of does go back to what those original passions and interests are that I had. So it's just funny how those things sort of all come together. And even my time as a strategy consultant that, I didn't love in the moment has really served me well, because it was sort of like a mini MBA and kind of understanding some of the problems that organizations face, developing a lot of those skills around effective communication and leadership as well that I've been able to kind of bring along on the journey. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where in hindsight, I can see how the various things I did along the way prepared me to get me here, but it was not it wasn't a plan, a journey that I had mapped out with a specific end goal or destination in sight.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I don't think I've ever met a marketer that's had the same story as somebody else. Like I feel like everybody has a unique journey into marketing, and definitely I feel like the most common way is just to fall into it. I haven't met many people who are like, I absolutely want to do marketing like from the get-go. So yeah, that's really interesting. I guess if you could go back in time, what one piece of advice would you give to yourself that you know now, but back then you probably wouldn't have known and you probably needed to hear?
Yeah. And this is what I tell my kids as well. I think it's just being open to the possibilities and understanding that that your career is going to be a journey. And so when I was first getting started, I thought I had to know exactly what I wanted to be, right? And rigorously pursue that. And the idea of having this like long career stretching ahead of you, and wanting to have fulfillment out of that, like everybody does, it felt like a heavy burden of picking the right thing. And I think now, people kind of getting started in the working world have a very different mentality, just because things have changed. Like, you no longer kind of get a job at GE and stay there your entire career, get a pension and retire, right? The journey is different, but I was probably in that transitional generation that was still figuring that out. So that's really, it's just being open to the possibilities. There's a metaphor. I can't think of the woman who came up with it. I know Sheryl Sandberg popularized it, but the metaphor of your career as a jungle gym instead of a ladder. And that, when I first saw that, it really resonated with me. At that point, I was, 10, 15 years into my career, but we had all sort of been brought up of the idea of there's a corporate ladder and you sort of make your way up the rungs and it's a straight and narrow path. And I think the reality is the most interesting career journeys are a bit, zigzag along the jungle gym, and just kind of pursue the interesting opportunities that come along your way. And they just help kind of round you out with different experiences. It's more enjoyable, and it just allows you to bring a different perspective to whatever roles you do take.
Yeah, I do think there's something in that with society at the moment, in terms of there's this like race to the top, or this pressure to get to the next stage, or like chasing a title, for instance. And I think everybody, as cliche as it sounds, everybody's on their own path. But I think there's also nothing wrong with sidestepping, or what may seem like a demotion or a different track is probably a really good thing. At the time, you might not notice it, but when you get to a point to look back, you're like, actually, that really helped me. So I'm glad that happened. So yeah, I think that's really important. I'm curious, obviously you said about your passions in terms of and the fact that you did a literature, I think, was it at university?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I guess if you weren't doing marketing now, what is it that you think you would be doing?
If I wasn't doing marketing, well, I think, and I maybe still will at some point, but probably be working for an NGO or a nonprofit in some capacity. So the other big interest I always had was around international development. And this actually kind of comes back to the marketing piece as well. I have in addition to the literature degree, I have a master's in comparative religion. And it kind of, it comes back to, again, one of those things I just did because I was interested in it, but realized that was about understanding people and what's like psychology, what moves and motivates people. And even the religion degree was a way for me it was just an unusual entry point into thinking about development and what factors affect people's attitudes towards development. And so how culture and religion and local customs affect the success or failure of different development initiatives. And so again, when you think from a marketing perspective, that there's actually a really strong kind of relevance there in terms of just understanding differences and those common threads amongst people and how to better connect with them. But yeah, I think that's probably where I would be, or like we said, it's a jungle gym, so maybe that's next. Who knows?
Yeah, I again, I absolutely love that, and I feel like I just would never have known that about you if I hadn't have asked. I think that is super interesting, honestly. Yeah. So my final question for you is related to what people can be doing right now. So if people want to stay ahead of their competition, what is it that you think that they should be doing?
Well, I'm definitely a fan of kind of continued learning, and so that's just myself. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always interested in kind of learning from other people and other in the marketing world. We have the benefit of MarTech has just blossomed over the last 10 or 15 years, and so there's a tremendous amount of education out there. So I would say just keep learning. We're getting a lot of technology advancements. Everybody's talking about AI and how to use AI, and so of course, we're looking at that as a team as well. But ultimately, I would say just remember that I think all good marketing is about people connecting with people. And so as much as we leverage technology, we leverage the potential of AI to help us be more efficient. Don't lose sight of, individuals, human beings connecting with other human beings, and let's keep that authenticity with our brands. And that's probably the one thing that makes me nervous about marketers using AI. Is just keeping that authenticity. The voice of the brand is it's really human beings talking to other human beings.
Yeah, again, I think that's such a key point. You see so many people on LinkedIn talking about using AI in marketing, and we have this thing where we do once a quarter. It's like a what's hot meeting, and we talk about different trends in the industry. And one of the things our content manager brought was that Google is starting to penalize people who are using AI in blogs because they can tell that it's generated from ChatGPT or something like that. And I think people are very quick to jump on it, this new tech, which is great, but also like don't lose that human element, and your brand voice, your tone of voice, your brand authenticity isn't AI. It can help you, it can speed up your work and your processes, but yeah, never lose sight of the fact that your brand is basically people and there's a human behind it. So
That's right. That's right. And it's one of the most valuable assets that your business has.
yeah, we used to have at my old company I worked at, we used to have a quote on the mirror in the bathroom, and it said, "The difference between us and the competition is you." And I
Yeah.
really love that because it's so true even to this day. Like, that the difference between different brands, they could be, our competitors, they could be doing the exact same thing, but the difference is us and how we sell and how we talk to them and how we market and the journey and that sort of stuff. So definitely really appreciate that people element side of things. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
If people wanted to connect with you, learn more about you, get in touch, find out more about MRI, where's the best place to connect with you?
LinkedIn, definitely the best place. Yep. Yeah. And then, of course, our website, you can learn a ton about MRI from the website and from our LinkedIn, our LinkedIn company page as well. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we'll add all of the links into the show notes so everyone can jump on and check the LinkedIn and the website out. So thank you so much. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.